Kayla, I got to reunite with Brandon Sklenar this weekend.
Oh my gosh. I know. You got to tell me all about it.
Okay, so I flew to LA to
Mm-hmm.
watch Brandon Sklenar and Meghann Fahy's new movie Drop, which comes to theaters April 11th. And I got to interview them and director Christopher Landon, who I did not realize until I was prepping for my conversation. I just didn't put two and two together that he's the son of Michael Landon, who did like Little House on the Prairie, who I have like was in a Little House on the Prairie family. We loved that show growing up and have like
Yeah.
kept up with like all of the whole family's projects, but because Christopher Landon does so many thrillers and like horror things, I just hadn't kept up with his stuff as much.
Yeah.
Um but this movie, oh my gosh, it was so good. I loved it so much and I cannot wait to see it again. That is really the mark of whether or not I like a movie is if I'm willing to sit in a theater
Yeah.
for more than one time.
And paid those expensive tickets, but
Yes,
that's
I would like to
impressive.
also clarify on the record so that everyone at home can understand. I have AMC A list, so I'm not paying $20 every single time. When I talk about how many times I see movies, I'm talking a flat monthly rate. Like, y'all do not have to worry.
Yeah.
The AMC A list is the way to go.
Yes. Because didn't you just say that you saw the new, was it Captain America? Like four
It
times?
was. I saw Captain America 3 times. Last year, I also put in my brain, sometimes I mesh press screenings
Yeah.
with the times I go to the
Makes
actual
sense.
theater. So I didn't necessarily see, what did I, like, Challengers, for instance, I think I saw like one press screening and two in theaters. But for the sake of the conversation, I saw Challengers 3 times. I saw The Fall Guy 4 times. I saw Snow White 3 times. So I'm just like, at this point in my life, I'm like, if I know I like something, I want to go and not be disappointed. So I'm going to see the
Yeah.
same movie again.
So then, question for all of our viewers that are watching, anybody that's tuning in, what is one movie that you were actually willing to see more than once? Put it in the comments because now I need to see what everybody's willing to see the second. For me, it was La La Land. I saw La La Land like
So good.
probably 4 to 5 times in theaters, but I haven't
Yeah.
really done that with any movie ever. So, what was the movie that you were willing to see more than once in theaters?
Yes,
Question.
please let us know because then I can tell if I'm crazy.
You're
And
not.
also, what is worth like if someone has seen a specific movie 6 times that you and I have not seen, we got to
Yeah.
add it to the list.
I know. We need to get on that. But back to Drop, which I am so excited to see. You need to give me a run through of the whole movie so I know what I'm getting into because I honestly don't know too much.
Okay, yes, an elevator pitch. My sister always says to me, "Give me this movie plot in one sentence because I can just talk and talk and talk and talk."
Ooh.
Okay, so one sentence. It's about Meghann Fahy's character Violet. She goes on a kind of a dating app date with Brandon Sklenar's character Henry. They show up to this restaurant, everything's going great, and she starts getting these anonymous drops to her phone. And they start out kind of weird and then they morph into really threatening anonymous drops where this person is threatening to essentially kill Violet's son if she doesn't do what this person wants. And the final instruction is to kill her date, to kill Henry. So it's all kind of in that one restaurant area. And the visuals are beautiful and so gripping. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Yeah.
And I have kind of been referring to it as a scary rom-com, which
Oh.
is probably interesting to hear and kind of strange to hear. But I was so emotionally invested in these characters and in their relationship potential, way more than I have been invested in previous romance movies and previous
Wow.
rom-coms. And I think it's a mix of Megan and Brandon being phenomenal and their chemistry being so good, but
Yeah.
also the script is so strong and just made me really care about the characters, which I think is a an integral part of cinema that some movies recently I haven't felt invested in the characters basically. Like
Yeah.
there's just so much in there to for shock value or to be interesting or just because someone wants to put it in there, which I know sounds kind of vague, but for all intents and purposes, drop everything about it is really emotionally engaging and really gripping without being gory, because I love a thriller,
Good.
but I don't like gore.
Me
And
neither.
that distinction really is, I think, the sweet spot for me of enjoying something like this movie. Um, and it's so Christopher Landon, who directed this, he wrote a movie that came out earlier this year called Heart Eyes. And that was exactly the same thing where I was like, this is a scary rom com, basically. And that was the same thing where it was a scary movie, but I really cared about the like relationship potential of the characters. So, new genre, apparently. If
Yeah.
y'all, Hollywood, if you're listening, please continue to make these scary rom coms because I'm eating them up.
That sounds awesome, honestly.
Yeah, great Halloween movie fodder, I guess. I don't know.
I'm sure people are going to be dressing up like this for Halloween. It seems like an easy, like it's just like a date outfit, but then it's more niche. It's like, oh, I was a movie.
And it's so interesting too because like I said earlier, the entire movie almost takes place at this one table and in
So interesting.
like in the bar area and then the table near the windows and then in the bathroom. And I interviewed Brandon and Meghann, like I said, but I also interviewed Christopher Landon. And he was kind of talking about how they purposefully built the restaurant to look, it's kind of like Art Deco-y a little bit. There's lots of gold, there's lots of texture, and they play with lighting in a way that he was saying was for the intention of making Violet and the viewer feel like we were all in a cage together. Because when you look at the restaurant, it's kind of domed in a certain way,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of that kind of bar design around. Not a bar let you drink at, but like the bars of a cage is how a lot of the walls look, which I thought was so interesting, and I loved what he was talking about. But that table is obviously what you stare at the entire movie. And then that ended up being the setup of the interview, which I had never seen before because I'm usually like, when I go to these in-person interviews, I'm in one chair and they're in other chairs like across the room and there's a microphone in between us. But they had it set up like a real date. So now I've kind of been thinking like, oh, I went on a date with Brandon and Meghann. That's so fun.
That's crazy. That's like, you could say that. That's a brag. I went on a date with Brandon Sklenar. Technically,
Technically,
what is a date? People talking
It's a
over a
date.
table, you know?
There was no food this time around. But Meghann and Brandon, if you ever want to hang out again, I will eat food with you and talk with you.
Yeah. I love it.
And my favorite question that I asked, that I was dying to ask, was I ended up asking Brandon if he would ever do a rom-com because he's done all of these roles. He was in 1923 and he was in It Ends With Us. And then he's in this new movie, The Housemaid, and he plays these roles that have romance involved, but it's
Or
like
drama.
starring in a thriller or a drama with romance is different than starring in a rom-com. So I was like,
Yeah.
Brandon, when are you starting in a rom-com? He didn't necessarily sound thrilled by the idea, but he did say never. So maybe when he gets through all of these really intense movies, maybe he will be like, you know what? I do want to do a rom-com. And I want Chloe to be there live reporting. And I will answer that call.
You know, he seems really funny. Like, he seems funny in a more sarcastic and nonchalant way that I really like. So I feel like he could do the rom-com very well.
Yeah,
Emily Henry?
yeah. He was like very chill and like they were kind of making jokes with each other and like bouncing off each other, and that was really fun to see. Like I asked them if they had any survival skills that would help them in this situation. If I am talking to someone in a thriller or in an apocalyptic movie, I just think that's such a fun question. And he literally off the cuff was just like, well, Meghann had been like, I feel like you're intimidating. And then he just straight up was like, yeah, grr, scary face, spooky, and said it exactly like that. And I was like, whoa, what just happened?
That's so unexpected.
It was very unexpected. I thought it was hilarious. There's a TikTok trend right now about fill in the blank mentality. And so I made a video that was just like Brandon Sklenar mentality because he said so many off the cuff one sentence things that I was like, this is just a chaos dump. I love doing interview chaos
That's
dumps, and
amazing.
that was a really fast one to make because there was so much of it so close together. But
Yeah.
also, Meghann gave some dating advice. Um, so if y'all want to hear the dating advice, you should go check out the interview.
Yes. On Brit Co.
Yes. On Brit Co. But basically, wait, should I give them the dating advice since they're here?
Go for it. Go for it.
I think what did she say? I think she was just saying, "Oh, always ask a question. Always show interest in the other person, and really just have a good time and
Yeah.
chill."
That's great classic dating advice. Because I feel like when you go to a date, you should be asking about the other person and getting to know them more. I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's easy to get into the habit of like, oh, I'll just sit here and like let them talk. But no, like ask questions, be invested. That's like great advice. I love it.
Yeah. And even though the date of it all was very fun and the actual on-camera interview was very fun, I
Yeah.
have to admit that wasn't even my favorite part because so many other
Oh,
things happened like outside of those 4 minutes.
okay. Give it to me. Give me all the
So
deets.
I was sitting in the hallway waiting to go talk to Christopher, and this entourage of people just walked down the hallway. It was a lot of people all very close together, and I could tell from their bags, context clues, like some of them were makeup artists and things like that. Then I can hear Brandon talking in the room that she ends up going into. I couldn't see them because it was like around the corner, but I could hear them. And they're like laughing, and someone had said they were thinking about taking pictures. So I was like, okay, I guess that's what they're doing because I could hear them being like, oh, that's so funny. That's a great one. And then they ended up posting a video of that photo shoot. And I was like, oh, that's what they were doing because they were just like, I think it was a good, probably, like just reviving their energy because it was so late in the
Yeah.
afternoon or like a tension break or something because they were being so funny in the video that I know they were probably just needed a break where like no one was asking them questions.
Yeah.
Um, Megan, I think, posted it on her Instagram if y'all want to watch it. It's pretty funny. And then I also I was sitting going over my questions and I just hear Brandon singing in the hallway. But I have this thing, I call it my mystery woman skill, where I can recognize people without seeing them. Like I always recognize the back of people's heads and I can identify like, oh, I've heard this before. This is very familiar. So I was
That's
just
impressive.
sitting and I heard him singing. And I'm gonna put him on blast, apparently, now that I'm saying this on
Was he a
camera.
good singer?
Um, it was kind of funny singing, so I don't think he was actually
Okay.
singing, but it was good.
Wow.
So
Okay, so he
okay,
needs
wait.
to be in a rom-com where he sings.
So he needs to be in a
We've
musical.
we figured this out. Yes.
Okay,
Theater.
great, fantastic.
Theater is
Apparently
calling.
we've planned out his next like 4 projects.
There you go.
Um, and then before and after our conversation at the dinner table, I walked in and Megan was like, "I just saw you in the hallway. Nice to see you." And I was like, "Nice to see you
Oh,
again." That was funny. And then Brandon complimented my notebook.
so
So that's
cute.
I feel like that was a very fast, just like off the cuff list of very small things that all happened really close together and very quickly. And I was like, I need to write all these. I literally was like, I need to write all these down. I don't want to forget any of this. And then, honestly, a very, very strong highlight was eating fish tacos by the pool. I told my mom, I was like, Mama, all I need is to sit by the pool in LA and soak up some sun because New York has been so gross up until that trip.
Yeah.
So I had fish tacos, which is one of my favorite foods. And I ate the new, I did not eat the new Emily Henry book. I read the new Emily Henry
Hey,
book.
you ate it up. You ate it up though.
I ate
It
it
was
up.
so good. It was so good.
And I laid there and closed my eyes and did not get a sunburn, which I'm so proud of.
That's amazing. Which also stay tuned for our Emily Henry review. We will be
Yes,
discussing that at a later episode, but
stay tuned.
I
And
love
in
that
the
for
rom-com
you.
of it all, I always cast actors when I read, and now I'm like, I'm just going to imagine Brandon and Megan when I read this book.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I
Did I
could
just break your brain?
wait, I could literally see Brandon in
I
that.
know!
That's crazy.
Hey,
Okay.
listen, when I
Noted.
asked Tom Blythe if he was doing a rom-com, he was super cagey about it, so maybe I accidentally, whoa, stay tuned,
Did
you
you just
guys.
manifest this for them? That's crazy.
That, this is no confirmation that there
Prediction.
is any type of Great Big Beautiful Life isn't even coming to the screen yet. There's no confirmation. This is just us, messing around. But
Yeah.
maybe.
That would be amazing. Okay, but I do need to know, is Meghann Fahy as beautiful in person as I imagine her to be? Because when I watched
Yeah.
White Lotus, I thought she was stunning. So I need to know.
She is gorgeous.
Okay.
And
I know.
she's that type of gorgeous that, like, she's so radiant that everything about her in person, the way she talks, the way she moves, and then the way she, like, actively listens to you, I was like, everything about this woman is drop dead gorgeous. Not just how she looks physically, but she is physically very beautiful. And she was dressed
Love
super
her.
cute. It was so fun. And Megan and Brandon were not the only people I met this week because we finally got to see each other in real life, which I was so happy about, that we were no longer floating heads to each other.
Yes. It was very nice. It was very short but sweet, and I'm glad we got to, because if you don't know, Chloe and I live on opposite coasts, New York. She
Yes.
lives in New York and I'm in LA, hence the Yap City of it all.
Right, name
But it
drop.
was so much fun. It was great, and I just had a good time chatting. I'm so glad you got to do that. Honestly, that sounds so fun, and I love getting to hear all of the tea on it.
Are you a fan of Brandon and Megan? Because I loved, quite unironically, I really liked It Ends With Us. I loved that movie. And I thought
Yeah.
Brandon did so well. That's the whole reason I started watching 1923, because I left It Ends With Us. And I was like, I need to watch everything this man has ever been in.
I am actually just a huge fan of Meghann Fahy and Brandon Sklenar. Like, love them. And I feel like I'm kind of new to a lot of their projects. So, but
Yeah.
I've come to really love them recently, and I want to see them in like everything. But yeah, I loved Brandon as Atlas in It Ends With Us. I thought he was like perfect for the character. That's my first thing I saw him in. And then I loved Megan in White Lotus season 2. Oh my goodness. She
Yeah.
was genuinely like probably my favorite character in the whole show, like of all of the seasons. I just thought she was so beyond talented. The way she portrayed her character was amazing. I mean, just like the way she was able to show so many different emotions just showed her range as a
Yeah.
character. So yeah, I'm so obsessed with her, and I can't wait to see her in this movie and so many other things. I think she's just going to like pop off and be the new it girl for real.
So I know she was in The Bold Type, which is, I believe, about, y'all, I haven't seen that either. Fake fan.
Haven't. I've heard of
And
it.
that's about three best friends who work at a fashion magazine. And I believe the theme of the show, or like the commentary of the show, is the shift from like print media to digital media. It came out around that time. And then Brandon is like fairly, not, I don't want to say fairly new, because they've both been doing stuff for a bit,
Yeah.
but I would definitely say that 1923 and It Ends With Us were like his big break. And
For sure.
then Megan has been called a White Lotus breakout. So I 100% think that is only up from here for both of them. Everyone on my Twitter X feed wants Brandon to play Batman. And I mean, everybody wants Megan to come back for a White Lotus like All Stars season and just to be
Please.
cast in anything. So I cannot wait to see what else
And
they're
Theo
in.
James. And Theo James, please. Them two together. Love. I love.
Oh, they're so good. But yeah, you guys can see Drop in theaters April 11th. And as far as other things we're watching this weekend, April has so much good TV out. So I am tuning into The
Yes.
Last of Us season 2. It comes out
Yes.
on Sunday, April 13th, that
Oh my
evening.
gosh.
And
Wow.
The Pit also aired its finale. So all the episodes are available on Max for y'all to watch.
Yeah, and then we also have Black Mirror season 7, which is coming out April 10th. I'm so excited. I actually haven't seen any of the seasons of Black Mirror yet, but I've heard so many things, so I might have to binge the entire show. But then we have a new episode of My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman on Netflix. I've loved every episode of the show. I love David Letterman, and I'm so excited to see him interview Caitlin Clark, who is a basketball player, and I love
Wait,
her and
tea?
think she's amazing. And people said this episode was really good, so
Oh my gosh,
definitely
that's
watch that.
amazing. I know. I loved seeing him talk to Miley Cyrus.
Yes.
And how she looked so much like the kind of early 2000s or mid 2000s Miley Cyrus that we all kind of met. She kind of didn't she have like long brown hair again, and I logged in and saw it on my social media, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I cannot wait to see what him and Caitlyn talk about. I think that's going to be so good. But yeah, click that subscribe button to check out our full interview with Meghann Fahy and Brandon Sklenar. And make sure you see, of course, drop in theaters April 11th. And keep an eye out for all of the super cool interviews and exclusives to come. And make sure you let us know what you're watching on all channels at Brit Co.
We'll see you next week.